Hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you very much for sparing your precious time and joining us. We have a power-packed content to share with you with the leading experts from our firm. The way we are going to run this is broadly into four segments. One is we are going to talk about the overall engineering and technology market to begin with. Then we will deep dive into specific segments such as cloud and infrastructure services, applications, and engineering. And of course, we will have ample time for Q&A in the end. Now, just to begin this, and truth must be told, when we started 25, we were probably a lot more confident than what we are now. Having said that, we still believe 25 is going to be better than 24. We have started to see some offshoots already. Our clients have started to talk about spend. At the same time, the discussions are not even. Many of them are talking about growth and investment. At the same time, almost all of them are focusing on reduction in costs. I'll just invite Akshat to share his view as we launch this poll around what is his take on overall market.
Thank you, Yugal. Absolutely. I think it's a very interesting thing we are doing in the beginning by asking this question to the audience that we have here, because we did ask a similar question to pretty much all our connects and customers across the ecosystem, both from enterprises as well as service providers. So it'll be great to see how relatable are the results now to what we saw at the turn of the year. And Yugal, I would love for you to kind of comment back on that once we get there. But while people respond, I think here's what I would say. I think we've had a couple of fairly choppy years. There's been a lot of pent up demand. The propensity to spend has been getting accumulated for a while. So this pent up demand and optimism is bound to unfold in the current year. And I think that has been one of the reasons why, uh, compared to the previous years, we've seen a little more optimism at the turn of the year. And of course, like you said, there are other things as well which are coming up now, which kind of change the complexion of how the rest of the year might turn up. But the overall state of affairs has been positive. There have been sectors which have already started to perform better than the last few years. Many indicators around VC investments, around S&P 500 performance, and multiple others look better than what they have in the past. With that, as a broader message, let me turn it back to you. We have some results come in as well. Why don't you walk us through those as well as how it compares
Yeah,
to what we saw previously?
yeah. So I think the good thing that I'm seeing, frankly, I am very happy seeing what we have got. I was thinking that people have become too cynical of 25 already, but I guess 55% of participants are saying that they are highly or somewhat optimistic about 25, which is a great news. Now, when we did our research earlier, with our clients and others, 80% of them were very upbeat about 25. And now from 80, if we take that number, now we have 55. So yes, there's a difference and there's a marked decline. And I think some of those events are already folding in front of us. We are going to talk about those as well. But increasingly, we are seeing that clients do believe 25 is going to be better than 24. But if we had asked them in first week of Jan or second week of Jan versus now, the answers have changed. And irrespective of that, I think the good thing is technology's role is so critical that pretty much everyone thought that newer technologies are going to drive growth for them, which is continuing to be important. Having said that, if you see on number 4, probably all of us are going to agree that government policies and regulations, and since what we have seen specifically in US, is going to impact this. But I think somebody asked a question which we will take later on around what are government policies such as tariffs and their impact on the overall services industry. But it is fascinating to see that despite all of those things, the central role of technology, new technology specifically, continues to be very, very important. When we look back, we see that in general, whenever the services market sees a dip, normally it comes out of it in around 3 to 5 quarters. If you go back from pandemic time or recently just in 23 and till now, I think we have already started to see some bit of upward trend for growth. Having said that, as I said earlier, I think our earlier numbers were higher. We are still in process of redoing them, if I may say so. And I do believe that some of those numbers will reduce a bit. Earlier, we were probably at around 5% also as a realistic number for the industry. We may end up a bit lower. But the point being that it's still going to be a growing market, unlike some of the previous quarters and years that Akshat also spoke about. Maybe I'll invite Mukesh to have take us through this page. This is his brainchild, and as he works with his clients, seeing a lot of the stuff that I spoke earlier, there's an opportunity to grow, but at the same time, clients are in mind of, okay, where should I grow? Where should I invest? Mukesh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Yugal. And I think this slide is very interesting in the way that this shows the market across two very distinct segments in terms of consumption of technology and services around it and what's happening across the entire services industry. So what we are seeing is that the market is very neatly getting split into two types of consumption patterns. One is realization cycle and second is the growth or investment cycle. The realization cycle essentially is everything about what has been done till now in terms of investments. How can we maximize the value from it? Right now, what are enterprises trying to do when it comes to realization cycle? So we are seeing a lot of vendor consolidation and integration activities. Now, for this wave of vendor consolidation happened once in the post-COVID era, right? Where, again, people started to do value maximization and did vendor consolidation, but we are witnessing this again now, right? And it ties back to the upward curve and dip that you was showcasing in the last slide. And we're seeing a lot of cost optimization or FinOp focused engagements that enterprises are undertaking to optimize costs. And then we were seeing extremely, high interest in terms of productivity related engagements through Gen AI, right? So enterprises were asking that where can I implement Gen AI to maximize productivity in terms of what I'm already doing. Versus there is another segment of the market, enterprises which are more mature, future looking, and we believe that this is where the market will slowly start to shift, is in terms of the investment or growth cycle. And this is centered entirely around AI. And when by AI, now we're talking about advanced AI, generative AI, and the advancements are happening at such a pace that, in generic terms, we are saying it AI plus plus. Now, here again, two kinds of things are happening. One is bolt-on AI, and second is enterprises really becoming ready for AI workloads, right from their infrastructure to the applications to the data layer, right? So the entire IT stack is getting transformed. Now, bolt-on AI, we are seeing a lot of this happening, but essentially the real growth and for enterprises to really become ready for AI, they will be needing to undertake IT technology stack transformation, and they will be needing to do some operating model transformation, say in terms of talent, offshoring model, governance policies, and so on. And then we are also seeing a resurgence of industry cloud, right? The first wave of industry cloud did not really click with a lot of enterprises, but now with agentic AI bringing contextualization, we are seeing a resurgence of industry cloud as well. So kind of summarizing where the entire enterprise consumption pattern is happening right now. Back to
Thank
you, Bill.
you. And when we ask our clients, okay, from 24 to 25, some of the levers that they are planning to adopt to drive the outcomes that they intend to, one thing which stood out for us was integration of technology and operations. And I think clients are sick of not only the silos within their technology organization, but the silos between their technology as well as the operations. How do they run? How do they create a seamless integration between the business outcomes they expect from technology and the technology itself? And we have seen that product-led operating model has become a lot more common now. I don't think it is pervasive yet, but it's a lot more common now, and the clients believe that this could be a model they may want to leverage going forward and drive this integration. And I'll ask Alisha to just chime in. What is she seeing when clients are taking this product-led operating model journey?
Sure, Hugo. So, as you said, organizations and leaders are getting tired of the silos between IT and the ops, and they are increasingly realizing that with digital adoption, digital and business, technology and business cannot be separate. Technology is business, business is technology. Everything is bundled together. So, therefore, this shift towards adopting a product operating model. Now, what does this really mean? It's not just a technology change. It's not just about, hey, we are putting these two teams together on a common platform, but it's really about the way the organization is structured. It's about bringing two different teams together. The mindset of these people, therefore, needs to change on how they work with each other. And as these people work together with a different mindset, naturally, the processes in which they have been traditionally working now needs to be redefined, needs to be redesigned on top of a core technology platform that they're working. And interestingly, this entire team now has is working towards certain common objectives, or OKRs, the objectives and key results that they are aiming to achieve, which are directly aligned to the business outcomes. And what you see towards the right is some of our research from a recent study that we did on focused on product operating model with some leading organizations who have achieved very good outcomes from these initiatives and from the investments that they've done uh, in achieving a product centric operating model. It's an impact not just on the top line in terms of increase in revenue or in bottom line on operational cost, but there is also meaningful impact that they've realized in terms of reduction in time to market, increasing their customer satisfaction score, and even increasing the employee satisfaction score, because now they can see the impact of the work that they are doing in quick iterations and impacting the way they serve their customers. So overall, we are seeing a great deal of interest and also resulting into opportunities for the IT and engineering organizations to enable organizations to move to this product operating model. So with that, I think now it's time to move into a bit more specifics and go deeper into each of the towers that we have within the IT stack. So Mukesh, why don't you start with cloud and infrastructure, and what are the key trends you're seeing in the market?
Yeah, thank you, Alisha. We move to the next slide. Yeah, so essentially what we have done over here is just talking about the top three trends in cloud and infrastructure services. Obviously, a lot is happening in the market right now, especially with AI, the entire notion of cloud and how it was being consumed and thought about, and the journey of enterprises that has seen an evolution in a completely different direction. But if we were to list down the top three trends for 2025, what we believe are most relevant, the first one is that in terms of IT infrastructure, it's becoming relevant again as enterprises are revamping their infrastructure for AI workloads. Now, what we are seeing over here is that there's a lot of demand for data centers, right? So data center companies are doing extremely well. Investments in data centers are rising every day. P firms are getting interested in making some of these investments, and some of this is also being reflected by investments and the role of technology players such as Nvidia, which are becoming much more relevant and important in terms of what they are saying out in the market when compared to the hyperscalers who were ruling this industry for the last 4 or 5 years. Secondly, we are again also witnessing enterprises trying to build their own LLM and AI models. That is again giving the push for more IT infrastructure demand. Then second, we are observing that in terms of cloud consumption, the needs have evolved beyond just migration and simple modernization. We are seeing more complex modernization needs. Also, we are seeing a new set of services when it comes to cloud, which we are calling it as cloud innovation services, because a lot of migration modernization has already happened. And now cloud innovation essentially will be everything about, say, integrating AI workloads, integrating IoT workloads, or bringing an industry cloud together, right? A lot of these solutions which essentially did not give the kind of ROI that enterprises expected when these were launched, along with AI today, kind of everything coming under one bucket will be what we call as cloud innovation services, and we'll see the market shifting towards that in the next 3 to 4 years. And the third one is around value maximization from cloud, which I briefly touched upon in the last slide. We do believe that in the short term, this will continue to be very relevant because enterprises have made a lot of investments in the last 3 to 4 years, and they are trying to squeeze out the maximum value that they can from what they have already invested in. And therefore, themes such as vendor consolidation, cost optimization, and productivity will continue to be relevant in the next 1 or 2 years. Now, just to double click, especially when it comes to what we are talking about in the growth cycle and transforming the full IT stack to become AI ready. What we are seeing is essentially, it can be called as digital transformation 2.0 wave. Now, in digital transformation 1.0, we saw cloud being the bedrock, and essentially the entire IT stack collapsed as one, right? So we saw emergence of DevOps models, pods coming up, right? Different teams coming together to have one common outcome, and that is where cloud actually made it a lot easier to achieve some of these, and that was what the digital transformation wave was from the entire 2016 to 22 23 period. And now we are witnessing the next wave of transformation, which is seeing AI as the transformation driver. And what's happening right now is that this entire IT stack, right, is also getting abstracted. And essentially, the business right now does not want to care about what's beneath, how do we manage it, and so on. And it can be compared very simply to what we are doing and how we are using tools such as ChatGPT in our daily lives, right? So we are using it at an abstract layer without really thinking too much about how it is giving some of these results, right? We care a lot about the outcomes. And it's just a simple example, but this is also what will start to happen in the business layer. And that's where there's so much of talk about agentic AI and agents right now in the industry. And in fact, it is supposed to be it is being called as one of the technology which has seen the fastest growth in terms of the kind of growth any technology has ever seen. Now, it's very interesting in terms of the model because it kind of is becoming centralized again from, a decentralized model. Sorry, the cloud made it more centralized, and now it's starting to become decentralized again, right? But I think the difference right now is there are multiple control points within the enterprise, and these will get orchestrated through inherently intelligent systems such as agentic AI, bringing everything together. And therefore, while underlying things start to become more complex, essentially it starts to aid the business in different levels. And this is the kind of transformation that we will be seeing in the digital transformation 2.0 era. With that, I'll invite Alisha to talk about some of the trends in the application services market right now.
Sure, thanks, Mukesh. And I think you set the stage nicely by, mentioning about the AI-enabled app layer and the entire digital transformation 2.0. That's what is driving a lot of the key trends in the application services market as well. So the first interesting one is that, when we think about modernization of applications to leverage AI, cloud, and all other capabilities, that isn't a very new trend. That's been happening for quite some time. But what we observe now is the focus on application rationalization becoming a very important step before modernization. Now, what does that mean? Over the years, organizations have accumulated tremendous amount of technical debt by adding redundant systems or by focusing on just short-term objectives of siloed modernization of certain applications or integration of new applications into legacy systems, and not taking a very holistic strategic approach towards their entire portfolio. But now the focus is on eliminating those redundancies that they've accumulated over the years and making transformation more cost effective. What it helps is it provides clear visibility into their entire application landscape, enabling them to design an effective modernization journey and not something that is sporadic and something that is not in the long-term benefit for the organization. The second very interesting trend that we are seeing, and undoubtedly, I believe all the audience here would also be talking about it, realizing it, experiencing it, is the infusion of generative AI into the applications. and ensuring the output is achieved with highest level of productivity and acceleration in terms of the time to market. Now, whether it is the onus of the service provider to deliver these productivities, or it is the onus of the enterprise themselves to identify the investments they have to do from an agentic AI, Gen AI standpoint to achieve these productivity commitments. That's a second thought, but the point is that within applications, there's tremendous amount of opportunity to automate certain processes, to automate certain workflows that have previously not been conducive to automation, but now they are possible to automate and bring in a lot more productivity. Overall, we are seeing almost in the range of 20 to 30%. It's a very wide range, but really depending upon the organization's maturity, the kind of productivity that is possible for organizations to achieve in their applications workflows only, in their applications processes only. The third, again, a very interesting point is the integrated managed services, this rise of this trend of integrated managed services. Now, a while ago, I talked about IT ops integration. Now, as the organization at a whole focuses on integration of their IT and ops, it then trickles down to the entire way in which the applications are consumed, managed, and maintained as well. And that is where the trend of integrated managed services is also coming into picture. It is primarily to ensure value maximization. And again, the organization, the stakeholders not needing to care if it is an ops problem or an IT problem or an OT problem, but what they care about is it gets solved quickly. And for that, much like they are focusing on changing the way they work, changing the way their organization structure is, etc., the operating model for the managed services also requires changing in terms of the talent that is deployed, the way the talent works, and the processes, etc. Now, sometime back in the conversation, we also touched upon agentic AI. We believe applications will also have a very crucial role in this age of agentic AI, and as organizations invest in agentic AI, which is again a very important rage in the market right now. The way we believe applications will play an important role is they'll be at the core of organizations' adoption, agentic AI adoption journey. The first step that organizations will need to do, or applications would rather need to do, is enable contextualization of these agents to the workflows, to the processes, to the business unit that is adopting agentic AI, or even sometimes to the industry based upon the kind of agent it is. The second important aspect that they'll need to take care of is orchestrating the integration of these different agents with the data sources, with third-party systems, with any other legacy systems that exist. So there may be a need for investing in more applications to make these agentic AI seamlessly work and result in the right automation that is needed. The third might be, as more and more functions gets automated, there'll be the need for implementing more governance frameworks, security protocols, compliance measures, etc. So there will be a need for more assurance and testing and ensuring that the work is done and mitigation of risk is taken care of in the right manner. And last but not the least, engaging the users, be it the end customers or the employees or partners or any other user of these interfaces, and providing adaptive experiences to maximize impact. So overall, contextualizing, orchestrating, regulating, engaging, all of these are going to be the responsibility or the added expectations from the applications as enterprises invest in agentic AI as well. Now, let's move to the engineering services trends. Akshat, why don't you talk about what are some of the key trends that you're seeing in the engineering market?
Absolutely. Thank you, Alisha. So if you could go to the next page, I think this page essentially captures all the many things that we are seeing cut across multiple industries, both at a summary level as well as some nuances at an industry level. As we all know, engineering at the end of the day is a very domain heavy stream of investments and work streams, right? So we always have to look at what's happening in the engineering services space at a sectoral level. So I'll try and do some of that. But before I do that, I think some things to acknowledge. Look, first of all, the space of engineering, as we're talking about, so it's a fairly large spend area. We are still talking about trillions of dollars, being spent. It's about 1.4, 1.5 trillion being spent annually in engineering commercial products which are sold further to customers, both consumers as well as businesses, right? But at the same time, not a lot of it gets outsourced. Out of this, it's hardly about 6.5%, which is delivered by third parties. Now, one thing I want to highlight here, given the recent context of slowdowns and macro souring, engineering market and engineering services further, right? The impact of the macro is always a bit delayed, right? While some of the other spending areas get impacted much sooner, the engineering services spending gets hit a little later. It does get hit. There is definitely some impact, and all of us are seeing that right now. But there is a delay in that, and once the recovery happens, it is also one of the sooner ones to kind of pick up once again, right? And there are lots of reasons for this, but most crucially, we are talking about commercial products, which at the end of the day are what makes enterprises earn the money that they do, right? So hence, projects are not as easy to ramp down. So hence the impact comes later. But that said, given the recent macro, which has been slow for a while, we've seen a fair degree of push towards cost optimization, which is my theme number one that I want to talk about. That there are macro sentiments which are still impacting, and cost optimization is still pretty much the need of the hour. We felt that some of it has played out already, and it may not continue further. But given where things stand in conversation with many enterprises, this is how it seems, right? It's not going anywhere, and still a lot of what gets spent first of all and then also gets outsourced, the driving force will be cost optimization. The second bit is AI. I don't think any engineering conversation today is devoid of AI. So artificial intelligence has a lot of different roles to play in the broader engineering services context. First of all, it is clearly a tool to drive further efficiency and optimization in the processes and the ways things are done in the engineering ecosystem. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, the CTOs, the people who are spending money into engineering, they are the ones who are at the end of the day creating the products which leverage AI. So there is that angle as well, and it is clearly something which is predominant spend theme for many enterprises, especially in some verticals like ISVs more than the others. Thirdly, the theme which continues to play out, and I don't think it is going anywhere, it is the broader platformization or softwareization as a theme. It cuts across many industries as more and more enterprises across industries choose to become more and more software driven. Their attempts to build platforms and build softwares which almost completely redefine the way they conduct their business and deliver the goods and services that they do. This platformization theme and softwareization theme clearly continues to be, a broader spending theme. Now, speaking about some verticals, I don't think I'll cover all of them, but maybe some. So let me pick, say, automotive to begin with. It's one of the most important verticals in the engineering services space. We've all seen over the past few years, a lot of spending has been happening. Truly, I really mean this. If there is one place, one industry where transformation has been happening, that's been automotive. It's clearly a space which is going through a transformation of the sorts where we have completely re-identified a different way to run cars and vehicle, right? So that means a very heavy change as far as engineering is concerned, and in that light, the engineering also has seen a significant uptick. But that said, over the last few years, we've all seen the EV push sort of slow down and taper off, and that has led to certain bit of a downturn in the overall engineering spending in the automotive ecosystem. But that said, the one theme which continues to see a lot of momentum is that of software-defined vehicles. And this is a major priority area. We received a question upfront as to some of the important themes which are playing out. SDV is clearly one of those in the automotive space today, both OEMs and as well as the larger ecosystem. And it's an important one to mention here. SDV is not an OEM only play. It's the whole ecosystem of partners needs to be orchestrated to be able to deliver SDVs in a powerful manner. So that's one engineering stream that's playing out in automotive. Let me talk about semiconductors as well. So in the semiconductor space, once again, lots of forces are playing out. one of the most interesting things is that in contrast to how things have been in the past few decades, we are seeing many more OEMs getting more and more excited about building their own chips, which is leading to newer pockets of investments as far as the semiconductor ecosystem is concerned. But that said, there are lots of geopolitical forces playing out as well, as we all know, and that leads to multiple different things. Some are positive, some not so much. But I think clearly some of the markets that companies usually used to sell into, those have been shrinking, and that's a cause for concern. But I think in the semiconductor ecosystem, one of the most important and the obvious themes is building the tech, building the chipsets and the memories which are required to deliver the talk of the town, which is AI, right? And that's not going anywhere. Given all the spending which is going into AI and the enterprise priority which AI is today, semiconductor industry has a huge role to play, and that's going to continue to drive investments in the semicon ecosystem. Thirdly, let me talk about the ISV and the internet ecosystem. Look, this is a space where traditionally we have seen a lot of good growth, right? It's a high growth vertical in general for the engineering services players. But that said, again, last couple of years there's been slump. There's been a lot of talk around optimization of spending, with some firms really bringing their costs down, and many of those being people related, right? But again, maybe it's the same theme which I highlighted much earlier around AI. But ISVs have been at the forefront of investing into AI. Talk of any major ISV today, they are already in the process of rolling out many AI-enabled features, and it's only starting, right? So the next few years, we believe AI is going to be at the forefront of their feature enhancement strategies and new product development initiatives, and that's going to drive a lot of engineering services spending. I'll cover just a couple more verticals before I turn to the next page. Maybe I'll talk about the aerospace quickly. I think for aerospace, it's been an act of balancing between, on one side, the optimization endeavor around the supply chains, but on the other side, there has also been a focus on innovation. Innovation around urban air mobility, sustainability. A lot of those things have started to come back, onto the priorities. And we've all seen the last couple of years have been better for aerospace engineering than some of the years prior to that. Lastly, maybe manufacturing and industrial. Look, I think this has been an interesting space, but I think what's been happening is the initiatives that we are seeing manufacturing industrial firms spend into, they are all designed towards shorter term gains and shorter term return on investments than something which is much longer term, right? So anything which is greenfield, it has typically it's been on the back burner. Whereas if it's a brownfield initiative, retrofitting oriented, where the return on investment is here and now in the medium term, uh, those have been received rather better. We also received a question earlier around the health of themes like digital twin. Look, it continues to play out. It's an important cog in the wheel, so to speak, but it's not one of those fundamentally transformative spend themes in the manufacturing industrial ecosystem that we've seen. Maybe I'll take a pause there on this page. I know there's so much more that we can cover at an industrial level, but I want to talk about one of the more important, more horizontal recommendations that we have for providers in the engineering services ecosystem, which we are covering on this page. It's a theme called holistic specialization. I'd acknowledge that this is not an industry terminology, but it is a reflection on truly the essence of what we are trying to capture here, which is the attempt that many service providers today are making to make sure that they are the prime examples of what a super specialized service provider in a domain looks like, right? Their ability to present themselves as somebody who can holistically take care of all the needs of an engineering services customer is what truly sets some of them apart from the others. I would acknowledge there are not many examples of such companies out there, right? But some have begin to emerge, right? Companies which, if we talk of a certain spending theme or a certain area of investment as far as engineering is concerned, there are some names which come to mind, and you truly feel that those companies can take care of the engineering needs pretty much end to end. In a way, this is like that classic inch wide and mile deep kind of a philosophy. which service providers are beginning to acknowledge as something which is indispensable in the world of engineering. And truly, it's because, like I said earlier, engineering is so domain heavy. Unless you're really invested into a certain industry and the needs of the customers in those industries, you can't really come out as, companies who really do have certain modes, certain differentiators which set them apart from from competitors, I mean. So what are we truly saying here? We are saying that we have to move from what is maybe a component specialization to something which we are calling as holistic specialization. And what is holistic specialization? Holistic specialization means that if we take a certain thin sliver of an investment area, of a spending theme of engineering customers, how deep can you go? Can you align all of your investments into the right kind of talent, into the right kind of solutions, into the right kind of IPs? Can you orchestrate the entire ecosystem very specifically to the needs of that particular workload within the industry? Can you have the right kind of narratives which people are able to relate to? As an example, instead of talking about platform engineering as a horizontal theme, which by the way is a great capability to have, can you talk the language of, let's say, what platforms need to be in the over the top OTT space more specifically, and talk about concurrent users rather than maybe some capability around DevOps and platform engineering models, right? So it's about aligning all of your investments and your outwards personality uh, to in a way that you come across as a company which is super specialized in a domain, and you're able to take care of your customers needs pretty much end to end. In this kind of a climate where striking larger deals is something which is uncommon, such deals are hard to come by, your ability to holistically specialize in a domain is perhaps the only real way to truly develop a moat and be differentiated from competitors. All right, I'll take a pause there. Yugal, I'll turn this back to you at this point.
Hey, thank you very much, Akshat. Of course, there were a lot of questions that were sent while the webinar was launched, and then I saw some of the questions were answered live. I will just take some of these questions, and of course, others that we could not answer due to paucity of time, we will come back with an answer. Now, one of the things probably I'll start with Alisha here. I think this is important. Alisha, we also spoke about this while we are talking about the growth of the services market, and as we see in the last couple of months, the specifically in US, but in other part of the world as well, there have been a lot of announcements around tariff and something else. So how is it going to impact the industry?
Sure, that's a very important and a very pertinent question for the current time, Yugal. So these Trump administration tariffs, we believe, if implemented in the current shape and form that it is, it will create disruption in the US with some vulnerable industries that are facing a varying degree of challenges because of the impact on their revenue as well as the margins. So some of the more vulnerable industries are manufacturing, electronics, and semiconductor industries, followed by not so vulnerable industries like pharmaceutical, retail, CPG, telecom, etc., which have already made some adjustments because of the previous tenure of Trump administration and some of the changes in sourcing that they had done at that time. Now, cutting the story short, the impact from a services industry standpoint will also unfold in two phases. In the near term, we see some of the non-critical and discretionary spend is expected to decline from some of these industries. However, as we think about medium to long term, we believe most of the businesses will try and adapt to optimizing of cost, to diversifying their supplier base, to increasing in automation, to be more to protect their margins. Ultimately, all of these will end up creating new growth opportunities for the IT industry and the engineering industry. So net of it, it's a mixed bag. There will be certain industries that will get more impacted, and therefore the impact on IT and engineering spend will also be there. But at the same time, in the medium to long term, we believe there will still be opportunities that will come into the services industry to enable these businesses to remain afloat and to protect their bottom line and their margins.
Absolutely. And I think there was also a very interesting question, and we keep talking about people, process, technology in most of these cases, is around whether adoption of AI is going to impact unemployment in IT, and how should people, think about it? Now, wish we had a very easy and a clear answer. I think the jury is still out. But what we have seen with our clients, I think we can share that with you. The knee-jerk reaction and all the press releases that we say, okay, in 2 years, 100% coding will be done by AI, and variety of such did make the clients think that their complete IT talent model, specifically the number of hires, irrespective of the skills and the roles, just the sheer number of people they have, either in-house or to third party, that is massively going to change. Now, it is going to change for sure, but the delta is, the jury is still out. Second is, as enterprises start to adopt these technologies, specifically advanced AI solutions that have potential to take away some of the people, they are realizing that yes, in some part there is a chance to reduce headcount, but at the same time there are other parts where they need more human intervention, human-led AI. If you put a gun to my head, if let's say today IT industry, both inside and outside, have let's say 100 people, whether it would become 110 going forward, let's say in 3 years, whether it would become 80, I think the answer is very hard. And it is going to impact different organizations in different ways. Specifically, if you are a provider, if your talent model is heavy on people, there is projects are overstaffed, if you are not using the right assets and IP, and the tendency is to throw people at the problem, that model is going to struggle. But if you have built reasonable assets that still use people, but at the same time do not keep entire thing people centric, I think those service providers are going to succeed. Mukesh, we spoke about people now, and then maybe coming to technology. I think it was asked earlier that because the technology landscape is changing so fast, uh, given large organizations are not these startups or tech companies, because tech companies would want us to believe everything is changing overnight, and we have seen that doesn't work in enterprise setup. But how they should become more nimble, how they should use this technology to the best of their advantage.
Yeah, and I think this is a very complex question, right? And potentially has multiple layers to it if we go about answering and trying to unveil how an enterprise will do it. But it has to be a journey, right? And I think that is where this question ties back very nicely to what we are talking about in the digital transformation 2.0 wave in terms of how an enterprise will be evolving, right? And one of the things that we saw there was how we will have multiple decentralized control points. And for a large enterprise to become agile using some of the AI technologies today, essentially there will be a lot of independent decision making that will need to be enabled by some of the senior leaders within the organization. Because we cannot really contain this technology, right? We cannot think that okay, now we have this AI tool and I will operate in a constrained environment, right? Based on these particular rules, and only then only our or sub organizations can use it. That is not going to work, right? Essentially, you will need to allow your different teams, your different units within an organization to work by themselves, identify what is working for them, what's not working for them, and based on that essentially have multiple control points, multiple decision points within an enterprise. And I think that is where essentially this entire journey is becoming ready for becoming ready for this AI enabled world, right? Becoming ready for the AI applications. And that's not just from a technology layer. I think that's where the discussion we were having was that the enterprises need an entire IT operating model evolution, which will have technology as one of the components, but then definitely multiple other components, including things like, and which are not measurable, things like strategy, vision, governance, then, things about which tools and IPs you are using and so on, right? And talent strategy and so on, right? So essentially, it's a combination of all of these, but, to cut it short, basically, multiple control points, decentralized and step-by-step process.
And I think Akshat is responding to a question asked by Kapil earlier, live, but I'll still ask him. Akshat, I think a lot of the clients, specifically senior execs, they ask, okay, how is my role going to change if you are a CTO, CIO, CDO? What has been your experience, and do you see emergence of new type of exec role?
Yeah. And in fact, the other question I was beginning to respond to, it's a long-winded answer, so I would rather, utter it out rather than type it in entirety. That question has to do with sustainability, so I'll come back to that as well after I respond to this one. So you will clearly, I think there's been definitely, a sort of a, change or a little bit of a transformation as far as the roles are concerned. In the executive suite, I think the first things first, I think the CTO's role is clearly evolving, right? And it has to do with the rising importance of AI in the boardroom. Whether or not we see newer roles or CTO getting replaced by a chief AI officer or not, I mean that's a separate matter. Some of it may play out in certain specific enterprises, versus some of the others, but we clearly see roles like chief data officer, chief AI officer, chief ethics and AI governance officer. All of these roles have sporadically been shown up in different enterprises. But the bigger theme is, I think, as far as the role of the technology office is concerned, the emphasis on AI is clearly very high, right? CTO must integrate AI across all business functions, from automation to customer experience. They have to manage the data infrastructure, they have to manage the governance, and also ensure that they have all the appropriate systems in place to ensure that the AI usage is also ethical. And that's one of the core responsibilities for the technology office today. At the same time, given the nature of transformation which is linked to AI, we're also seeing that the job for the technology office to now collaborate with the finance office, the HR office, the marketing office, is supremely high, right? So all of these things, whether it is around business model innovation, product innovation, governance, compliance, collaboration with other C-suite leaders, and then of course, bringing AI into the core of the businesses, that's becoming the number one priority for CTOs globally. So the other one now, which is around sustainability, and the question is, how do we see sustainability play in the ER&D space, and especially in industries like aerospace and defense, energy, auto, and others? I think clearly sustainability as a theme, which started to rise in prominence over the last few years, it continues to be one of the top priorities. Though I will acknowledge that given the broader macro and the pressure people have been facing on their overall investments and how can they sustain in somewhat troubled times, sustainability, while it hasn't been something on the back burner, it has given way to some of the other needs which are more urgent and here and now. But that said, sustainability clearly continues to be in the engineering ecosystem, one of the large, most important, relatively medium to longer term priorities. And especially in these industries, I think some of the things that I can play out, which I see play out, are linked to, for example, usage of alternative fuels. So if you think of aerospace, sustainable aviation fuels, which are derived from biofuels and synthetic sources, those are pretty much required to reduce carbon emissions. If you think of the energy sector, there's a lot of energy transition which is happening towards the more sustainable sources, more renewable energy. Preference is clearly coming up, right? If you think of automotive, the whole EV motion has been clearly linked to the sustainability aspect, as we've all seen, even though there has been a little bit of a taper in terms of the urgency with which the industry seemed to be adopting it, and it might play out over a longer term. So clearly that is it. And by the way, electrification is not just a automotive phenomena. Even in the aerospace, as far as the urban air mobility is concerned, we've seen a lot of VTOL, which is vertical takeoff and landing investments being more and more electric, right? Then if you think of the sustainable aspect related to material choices, so circular economy has clearly been one of the prime topics of interest in the CTO office. It may play out in some of these industries, maybe not as prominently as some of the others, but if you think of the larger engineering ecosystem, circular economy, and more sustainable material choices, that's been one of the most important things. And lastly, I think what I would say is many of the things which the CTOs are doing today as far as sustainability is concerned, over the longer term, they are not going to be choices. those will be mandates that they will need to fulfill, given the policy and regulatory compliances, which will become imperative on them going forward. We are seeing a lot of changes happening around those two.
Thank you very much. And I think I see there are a lot of live questions being asked. Unfortunately, we may not be able to take some of them at least, but I see we are responding live as well. But if we are not, we are going to come back to you with an answer. The good thing is a lot of the questions are going to get covered in the research we are planning to publish throughout. But prior to that, we have posted a web link for you to download one of our key research, which we are providing people attending this about the priorities of enterprises and how they are thinking about 2025, how confident they are from a business point of view, from a technology point of view, and of course from engaging with their service partners, such as a lot of the people on this call. So please feel free to download those. Uh, as I said, we are writing a lot of stuff around not only AI, but in general, what's going to happen in the technology landscape per se. Yes, AI is of course a big theme, and some of you asked about what's the impact of AI, let's say beyond something else, right? Beyond just effort. We are writing on it. Somebody asked about what's AI's or Gen AI's impact on AMS development. We are writing a research that should be soon out. So please feel free to have a look. Uh, so as I said, right, lot of things for you to go through, learn, and then ask us questions. We'll be more than happy to answer wherever we are able to help you out. Uh, and I thank all of you, and of course my co-panelists, Alisha, Mukesh, and Akshat, for coming together and speaking. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day.